Yeah, I mean, just so for my personal thing, look, I know it actually does lose me women that I'm not willing to pay for first dates, but at the end of the day, I don't want to feel like a sucker. I've been there before. I don't want to do it.
Is this like something you're dealing with personally?
What do you mean?
Like, is this a problem?
This is something that pretty much all men are dealing with.
Let me ask you, how do you get out of this? Where do you go from this? You don't want to feel like a sucker. I don't know if this happened in the past. What now? How do I get you married?
Well, so okay, we'll get to the marriage thing in a little bit because I know you wanted to talk about marriage. So I'm not necessarily opposed to falling into more of a like taking care of a girl. I certainly have the finances to do it down the road. Okay. But up front, no. You need to I need to get to know you before I'm prepared to do that.
Okay, but what is that? So you need to get to know her in a way where you're not spending money on her, because if you are, then you might get bit in the ass, or what?
It's really just a matter of principle to me. It's
I know
about the loss of money.
I know, and I actually get the principle. I respect that, but how do you, as a man, because you're a single guy in this crazy market right now, how do you move on? How do you navigate this? Do you go to the park and you hang out at the park?
Oh, like how do I do dates?
How do you do dates and invest and also invest no money because you're scared that she might?
Sure. Okay. Oh, I'll put you on some game. What did you have to say?
So if you want so badly to be fair and not pay the girl's meal, doesn't that kind of make the girl have less respect for herself and less self-esteem to be willing to go half and half on a first date? So like, does that mean you're setting yourself up to be with less lower value girls because you refuse to appreciate their value from the beginning?
What do you mean appreciate their value?
Like pay for the dinner.
Why is that appreciating someone's value?
From a traditional standpoint. The man
from a
pays
traditional
for dinner.
standpoint,
Yeah.
but like women are not really traditional anymore. I mean, you mentioned men should be gentlemen. Where are the ladies?
We're right here.
But you just said you're an escort. I mean, like, you're not a lady.
Excuse me?
You're a female, but you're not a lady.
What makes me not a lady?
Well, I suppose I'm not a gentleman.
Because I got in a shitty situation at 18 and did what I had to do to survive and pay my bills.
That doesn't undo the fact that, look, you are not a lady.
That doesn't make me not a lady. I'm a survivor. I'm someone that's really strong. Like, I don't understand how I wouldn't be a lady.
Sure, you can be strong, but when I say lady, I'm sort of talking about traditional gender roles. So a gentleman versus a lady.
Yeah.
But traditionally, like...
A gentleman is someone who pays for your date, who protects you, who provides, who's a gentleman.
Do you think we don't deserve that
That's
because
just a
we're
man.
sex workers? Do you think we don't deserve that because we're sex workers?
It's not a question of deserving and not deserving, but what I'm trying to point out is that as sex workers, you are not traditional women.
What I feel
if
like
you
you're
find that
saying-
offensive that I don't consider you traditional women, I'm sure you can admit yourself you're not a traditional woman.
You don't even consider me a lady. I just figure you think that I should go like be on the street corner or something.
That's not what I said, but you're not.
What do we mean by lady? What's a lady?
Yeah.
What is a lady?
A lady would be the counterpoint of a gentleman.
Okay.
So basically just adhering to
traditionality.
decorum and traditional gender roles.
Okay, so
by virtue of being a sex worker, and this isn't me trying to attack sex workers, but you are not traditional. Ergo, you are not a lady.
Well, you're not a gentleman. You do a podcast.
That's fine.
That's not traditional.
Well, I don't think my specific
Job.
let me ask you this: what job ought a traditional man have, if not podcasting?
A business.
This
a
is-
business.
He's running a business.
This is a business.
He could provide for a woman and 5
CEO.
kids. He's a CEO of
Well, so could
whatever
I. I
Inc.
could provide for kids too. And
But the metric, I mean, the profession of selling yourself.
Either way, a man's paying. What's the difference then if a man pays for an escort or pays for dinner?
Well, if a man is sleeping with
Traditionally.
escorts, he's not a gentleman.
Yeah, they end up paying somehow.
I
Yeah, they always
disagree.
do.
I think a man paying for dinner is looking for something more out of a woman other than just her sweet.
Well,
I disagree.
As you said.
I disagree.
Actually, I disagree.
I disagree
Most
because
men are
here's why.
looking just
Because
for
here's why.
pussy.
Because a guy who is going to pay for a first date, he's trying to do everything to stack the cards in his favor in order for it to get to
It's
the finish
competitive.
line.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's being competitive, so he's.
But what's that finish line? Is it necessarily just having sex? I think genuinely most men want to get married, want to have kids, want to have a family.
I agree.
I think that's what most men want, and you're right. It's very hard right now to do that. Incredibly challenging.
Yeah, but I don't think that if you don't want to pay for the first date as a guy, that necessarily means you just want the pussy.
But it gives the impression to the girl that you don't
wanna
like
be
her. Like, you
serious.
don't like her.
Wait, do you not talk to girls before you take them on a date?
Oh, right. This comes back to your question. Like, okay, how does this actually
What's the
play out?
game? Yeah.
How does it look?
What's the strat?
Okay, so, well, first off, no dinner dates.
Okay.
Never dinner dates. So it's either meet for like a tea or a coffee or something. Or you meet for a drink. I'm not a big drinker, but, you know, occasionally I'll have like a glass of wine or a beer. And I'm not really like, I mean, this has changed throughout the years, but here's the game plan. I'm giving you guys some game. So first off, you show up early, or you
Okay.
just show up on time, because most of the time the girls are going to be late anyways.
Mm-hmm.
5-10 minutes late. That's my experience. I'd say 90% of the time the girl's going to be 10 minutes late on the first date. So if you get there early, you just talk to the wait. It depends. If it's a sit-down place and they come to you, even if it's for a drink, sometimes there's waiters that will come to you for a drink. You just say, before she's there, you talk to the waiter and you're just like, hey, but at the end, just bring 2 checks. Boom. So it's not even like a thing. So he puts a check in front of you, puts a check in front of her. You don't even have to say anything. The other thing is, if it's like at a bar, you go up to the bar. If you get there early, you just pay for your drink up front, and you only you have that one drink the entire night. And then when she comes, you're like, oh, hey, I'm holding this table. Already got my drink. Boom, you drink your drink. And then, hey, go to the bar, get your own drink.
So the goal is the meta is to preempt
the goal. Yeah,
you had to get
the
your world
strat.
buffs. Okay,
Get the
Ani
world
had.
buffs. Yep.
No, the meta is to sort of kind of like preemptively reduce your risk or your investment.
Yeah, I mean, basically
Okay.
just get there a few minutes early.
Okay.
Play the little game. Tell the waiter you want 2 separate checks. Boom.
Maybe
that way it's not awkward on the date when you're like, oh, 2 checks. There's not like this confusion. The waiter already knows
Yeah.
what to do. You don't have to make a scene about it. Boom, he puts a check here, he puts a check there.
Maybe I'm a big time cuck lord. I don't know. I think with dating, I acknowledge there is a risk, and that risk might be that she's just not going to work out for me.
Now-
and as the man, that's the burden I'm comfortable to accept.
Sure. And I mean, even that applies to my situation too. I mean, the other thing you can do is go do something free. Go for a walk. Go to the park. Now, some chicks are not down with that. Some girls are like, oh, you got to take me to dinner. You got to get me this. Nah, like, if a girl's not down with a free date, if she's not down for a walk on the pier, not down for a walk at the park, she's playing some game.
Sure.
She wants a free meal or she wants something. So
So then you've already vetted her. On to the next one. Okay. Right.
yeah. Yep.